Shelf Help, a channel dedicated to talking in the void about whatever book I happen to be reading. I'm your host, the reader. The following review will contain spoilers. This is clearly inspired by The Princess Bride, which is fine, we all take inspiration from somewhere. But trying to parody a satire is hard. Let's start with the princesses. Amaranda is the only child of King Sindoa, the warrior king of Ardinia. In the realm of sand and sky, Ardinia has the largest army and is wealthy in diamonds. For years, they have been allies to their neighbors against the warlord of the torrent. Amaranda has been raised with a sword in her hand, and her favorite opponent is Luca, the stable boy. In fact, it's her favorite hobby. At 15 years old, she's just starting to be introduced to the politics of her world. When the king is murdered, she gets a crash course in being a woman in a medieval setting, aka, it is her lot to be sold to the highest bidder for the good of the kingdom. She is, unsurprisingly, unhappy about this. She demands the council, who did not even rise when she entered the chamber and gave her the guest seat, change the law. They don't. Shockingly. Granted, she brings a lot of this on herself. Amaranda isn't really interested in politics, she isn't even interested in trying. She attends no meetings or negotiations. Instead, she issues public demands without context because she would rather play soldier with the stable boy. When she finds Luca missing and a ransom note telling her who to marry or else, she just leaves. No telling anyone where she's going or why, not even showing the council the ransom note, just takes up her sword and goes to save her true love. I'm kind of with the council here. You want to rule? Fucking act like it. Your kingdom is on the brink of war with 3 countries. You just made a big speech about putting your country before yourself, and then fucked off without a word. Grow up. By contrast, we have Buttercup, who isn't actually a princess. She's a farmer's daughter, Humperdinck, plucked from obscurity to use as a pawn to start a war. She's not responsible to anyone. Her entire job is to look pretty so people will adore her. So when Humperdinck has her murdered, they will be outraged enough to go to war. Not that she knows this, but that's not really the point. Wesley was declared dead a year or more ago. She still loves him and misses him, but life goes on. And if she's going to spend the rest of her life in mourning, there are worse ways to do it than as a princess. Also, if we're going to take the setting completely seriously, the reason Wesley left was to earn money so he could pay for her dowry. Humperdinck would have no problem paying for that, and then some. Further, while the first thing we learned about Amaranda is how great a warrior she believes herself to be, putting a pin in that for a moment, the first thing we learn about Buttercup is that she's an idiot. She names her horse Horse. This isn't a bad thing. She has many other great qualities. But it does set the groundwork for why it takes her so long to realize Humperdinck is a lying jackass. Speaking of Humperdinck, let's talk about the princes. They're both wonderfully hateable. The Crown Prince Renard is a jackass, while his younger brother Taillefer is more intellectually villainous like Humperdinck. Now they definitely poisoned the king together, so Renard could exploit the loophole in his mother's regency to be king before his 18th birthday, before she could remarry and have a new baby to be the new crown prince. Beyond that, Taillefer seems to be the brains behind the throne, hiring the pirates to kidnap the stable boy, to ransom the knife-happy princess, to marry his brother so that she would murder him and Taillefer could be king. He also plays the role of the albino. This family is a wee bit fucked up, by the way. Unlike Renard, Humperdinck had a plan. Humperdinck wants war with Gilder, but he can't just declare war because he wants one. Wars take resources and political capital. You need to give people something to fight for. So he had the kingdom searched and found Buttercup. She was perfect. Beautiful, kind, relatable, a commoner plucked from obscurity to be a princess. A fairy tale, if ever there were one. Bonus points that she's dumb as a box of rocks. The kingdom loves her, just as planned. Then he had her kidnapped, and like the brave, gallant prince that he is, he rides out to rescue his love, using all his impressive hunting skills to track her over sea and land. But lo, tragedy. He could not reach her in time. Despite his best efforts, the agents of Gilder have murdered his beloved Buttercup. Now the nation is ready to go to war for this offense. Humperdinck gets exactly what he wants, and all it cost him was a little time and a peasant girl. It's a pretty tight plan, honestly. And it would have gone off without a hitch if not for the dread pirate Roberts, a.k.a. Wesley. By contrast, Taillefer and Renard's plan has a few holes in it. You blackmailed and kidnapped the princess to force her into marriage under threat of violence, then expect Ardinia to just honor that marriage? Ardinia, with the largest, most powerful army in the continent, and 2 other kingdoms who would also like to marry the princess, who are definitely going to object. I mean, what's the endgame here? Yeah, you bypassed the loophole and became king. Now fight a war on 3 fronts? Even if Taillefer is completely honest in his intent to return her unmolested after she kills his brother and makes him king, she still knows he helped, and killed her father, and kidnapped Luca. She's going to be pissed. Which leaves us with Luca and Wesley. Well, they both are stable boys. There's actually not a good analog to Wesley in the story. Luca does play him when the scene requires it, but mostly he plays Buttercup, extolling the hunting prowess of the princess, while Amaranda takes up the mantle of Humperdinck, the great hunter. Luca is not that interesting of a character, to be honest. He's the damsel in distress, the prize to be won. Meh. Which kind of brings us to Amaranda's skills, as they are. I can't decide if this is supposed to be humorous or not. Humor is, of course, subjective, and it's possible that this just doesn't hit for me. Amaranda spends an amazing amount of time bragging about her amazing skills as a warrior and a hunter. She loses every fight she gets in unless she has help. Her mad trekking skills literally depend on Luca leaving a trail of oats for her to follow. It's fine to have a confident character who is not also competent. But Amaranda shows literally no self-awareness. At one point she gets captured, escapes with the help of other girls. One of the girls runs away with her, wanting to help on her quest. They stop at an inn, where Amaranda nearly gets herself killed because she knows jack about the culture. She only survives by the timely intervention of the other girl. And then she promptly sends the girl away because she must do this alone. Why? Who knows? She just must do it alone for reasons. And as soon as they're captured by the prince, Amaranda immediately reclaims the role of Buttercup and does nothing to help herself until rescue is at hand. The thing with The Princess Bride is that it satirizes dime store adventure novels where the brave prince sets out to save his love and the kingdom from the villainous pirate or evil kingdom. It's all very formulaic and the roles are stiffly defined. The woman's role is to be a beautiful and helpless victim for the men to fight over, even if the story insists they are anything but exactly what they are. The Princess Bride flips the script. The prince is the bad guy, the pirate is the hero, and the evil country really would just like to be left alone. And the princess is exactly as dumb as she needs to be to make the whole thing work. In an attempt to parody a satire, Amaranda becomes exactly the type of character Princess Bride is mocking. She's constantly pontificating about how she's her father's daughter and born to rule and wield a sword, but in the story she's anything but. She loses or requires help for every fight she gets into. She openly admits that all her warrior princess training never required her to go without food or sleep. She is politically blind, first getting run over by the council, and later shunning the help of Renard's mother. If Amaranda had any political savvy whatsoever, she would have made an alliance with Renard's mother the first night she arrived. Now, I'm not saying the Dowager Queen is a good person. She may very well be planning to murder her own children to keep power. But she is a queen in her own right. Alliance with her would have changed everything. And to be fair, the Dowager Queen doesn't reach out either until way, way too late. Seriously, these women, and one more we meet at the surprise twist at the end, all want the same thing. Control over their own lives in a world run by men. Together, they control 3/5 of the world and would be an unstoppable force. So naturally, they can't even do the basics to get along or even try to form alliances until well after the shit has hit the fan. It really all ends up playing at the trope that women are too emotional to rule, which is exactly the opposite message I think it's going for. I'm going to put this on my 4th shelf. It's harmless, but it's not really good. The plot depends entirely on absolutely everyone being an idiot. I get what the story's going for. Making the princess the hero who saves her true love is very modern female empowerment fantasy. But that sort of female empowerment needs to show women as a whole and as individuals as competent. Having a female lead who fails her way through the story isn't empowering. The story is about Amaranda proving her counsel right. She isn't ready to rule, at least not yet. Also, there's a line between using something as inspiration and using it as a crutch. For me, this leans more towards the latter. It follows The Princess Bride almost beat for beat, while entirely missing the point. The Princess Bride is satire, poking fun at the epic adventure romance tropes. To take that and gender bend it and play it straight could be done, probably. But this is one of those things that would need to be approached carefully. Thank you for your time. I know everyone's mileage will vary, so feel free to leave your thoughts.